After my bitter struggle with his concubine left us both broken, my husband married my cousin. It turned out he had always loved her. Then, I was reborn. Main text. The vibrant floral pattern on Lynn Manris' embroidered robe pierced my eyes like needles. Identical to the one she wore when she stood before me in my past life. The flamboyant design, paired with the smug satisfaction she couldn't hide in her eyes, instantly dragged me back to those 30 years of darkness in the manor. The bitter cold nights, the lukewarm porridge, the bone-chilling loneliness, and my child who never reached full term. All the pain surged back the moment I opened my eyes. Oh, Manru has given herself to me. I cannot betray her, nor wish to deceive you. Might we take her as a concubine? Zhao Shixi's voice matched my memories perfectly. Its hypocrisy sickening. In my past life, blinded by rage, I had publicly slapped Lin Manru across the face. The result? A reputation for jealousy, scolded by my mother-in-law for being unreasonable, while that adulterous pair seized the initiative. But now, I would only laugh. Very well. I lifted my eyes, my expression perfectly composed and gentle. Manra's father is a benefactor of the Marquis household. Keeping her in our residence indefinitely is indeed inappropriate. Since it is your wish, my lord, we should certainly hold a small, splendid celebration. She must not be treated unfairly. Lin Manris' eyes lit up instantly. She stepped forward, her voice urgent. Madam, you're not angry. How could I dampen my husband's enthusiasm for granting her dignity? I rose solemnly, gently taking Lin Manris' wrist. My fingertips brushed her cool skin, sending a wave of nausea through my stomach. As the legitimate daughter of the Duke's household, I possess this much magnanimity. Turning to Zhao Shizhai, I shifted my tone. However, Shizhai, today's event must remain a one-time occurrence. Frequent concubine taking invites censor criticism, diminishes His Majesty's esteem for you, and dishonors my maternal family's reputation. Henceforth, no other woman shall enter this household. Zhao Shixi's smug expression froze, his eyes flickering with surprise and regret. He had clearly calculated that I would throw a tantrum, hoping to use my conflict with Lin Manru to pave the way for his true love, Su Xiangyao. But I refused to play along. This move, I would personally disrupt. Oh, are you truly willing? He asked tentatively, his voice thick with uncertainty. Of course. I took Lin Manris' hand and led her out. Why wait for a better day? Let's go tell mother-in-law now and set the date. In courtyard. Mother-in-law frowned as expected, taking a concubine just a year after the wedding. What kind of example would that set? Shizhai, you should consider Awa's feelings more, mother. I consented to this. I interjected before Zhao Shizhai could speak, my voice tinged with just the right amount of hurt. Had I refused today, his constant nagging would have worn away our marital bond. Better to grant my husband his wish, at least he'll remember me fondly. My mother-in-law stared at me for a long moment, her eyes brimming with pity. She took my hand and patted it gently. My dear child, it's Shizhai who lacks understanding. Mother cherishes you. She then summoned the steward, retrieved the keys to the storeroom and a thick ledger, and pressed them into my hands. From this day forward, the authority to manage the whole household rests with you. These deeds for the jewelry shops shall also serve as compensation from your mother. I took the heavy deeds, my fingertips trembling slightly, not from emotion, but because the first step toward vengeance was finally secure. What I had fought tooth and nail for in my previous life, I had obtained effortlessly in this one through feigned compliance. Thank you, mother, I murmured, lowering my eyes to conceal the cold gleam within. Let us consult the almanac together and set the concubine-taking ceremony for the 7th day of the 12th lunar month, just 5 days hence. It is best to settle this matter swiftly. Lin Manru beamed with delight, showering me with thanks. Zhao Shizhai, however, looked disheartened and excused himself to attend to official business in the study. I wouldn't let him slip away to consult Su Xiangyao. Turning to Lin Manru, I smiled. Madam Lin, now that you've secured your position, the study can be left to you. From now on, The task of grinding ink and adding charcoal to the stove falls to you, thank you, madam. Lin Manru chased after me, beaming with delight, completely unaware she was merely a pawn in my scheme to stir things up. Once everyone had left, my mother-in-law spent a long time soothing me, every word filled with reproach for Zhao Shizhai and heartfelt pity for my grievances. I nodded along with her words, yet my mind remained crystal clear. Her favoritism stemmed solely from the Duke's mansion behind me. Should I lose my usefulness, her concern would vanish without a trace. Back at Bamboo Fragrance Courtyard, Jingxin's eyes were red as she complained. Madam, how could you actually agree to let that Lin Manru enter the household? That young master is so bullying. We should go back to the Duke's mansion and lodge a complaint. What good would complaining do? I lifted my teacup, blowing away the floating leaves. An apology, or getting him to reverse his decision. Now that I'm married into the Marquis household, divorce is a luxury. The Duke's mansion values its reputation above all, rather than making a scene and inviting ridicule. I'd rather seize real power. Then no one will dare treat me with contempt again. Jingxin nodded uncertainly, but I placed a hand on my belly. By the timing of my past life, my child had already taken root here. In that lifetime, he never made it safely into the world. This time, I would protect him at all costs. And Zhao Shizhai, Lin Manru, Su Xianjia ovary debt owed to me would be repaid in full. With control of the household finances in hand, the ledger's figures were crystal clear, and the jewelry shop's profits were quite substantial. As I flipped through the accounts, a cold smile curved my lips. Soon, the Annan Marquisate would truly bear the Xie name. The preparations for the betrothal ceremony were more meticulous than those for my own wedding. Since Lin Manru had no parents, I personally took her to the most renowned jewelry shop in Xinjiang. Letting her choose freely, her fingertips glided over the glittering hairpins and ornaments, her eyes shining brightly. She finally selected a red gold hairpin inlaid with green feathers and a pair of pearl earrings, all priceless items. The shopkeeper smiled and flattered her, saying Madame Lin had excellent taste. She grew even more delighted, forgetting to thank him as she turned to instruct her maid to pack everything away. Manru is now the apple of her husband's eye, I said with a gentle smile, my tone sincere. Naturally, she deserves the finest. I will also look out for you more in the household from now on. Hearing this, the pride on her face deepened, and even the look in her eyes toward me lost some of its caution. On the way back, I had the driver detour to the flower and bird market. I selected the finest peonies and camellias, then had several pairs of antique blue and white porcelain vases brought from the storeroom. All were sent to Hanglin Courtyard, the residence ID specially chosen for her, closest to Zhao Shixi's study, just a stone's throw away. I also had the Taihu stones, freshly delivered by the Jiangnan trading house, moved to Hanglin Courtyard's garden. They were arranged into a small rockery, enhancing the courtyard's elegance and grandeur. The old steward of the household couldn't bear to watch and privately advised me, Madam, she is merely a concubine. Why such extravagance? Should word get out, it would only make you appear overly indulgent. I am not indulging her. I sighed, my voice tinged with hurt. In preserving my husband's dignity, since he values her so highly, as his lawful wife, I cannot let him lose face. Word of this quickly spread throughout the Marquis residence. Servants whispered among themselves that concubine Lin was truly favored, even earning deference from the main wife. Lin Manru, already prone to ostentation, grew even more unrestrained under this adulation. When the housekeeper's wife was a moment late delivering her afternoon tea, she smashed the teacup on the spot, cursing the woman for looking down on her. When a young maid's hand was a bit too heavy while combing her hair, she raised her hand and slapped the girl, then ordered her to kneel in the courtyard for reflection. Servants came to me one after another to complain. I only soothed them gently. Madame Lin has just entered the household and is a bit fiery-tempered. You must bear with her. Your husband cherishes her. If you upset her, you upset your husband. Before long, everyone in the household understood my stance. They grew increasingly indulgent toward Lin Manru, and her arrogance only swelled. This was precisely what I desired. The day before the concubine taking ceremony, Su Xiangyao finally lost her composure and rushed to my bamboo tea courtyard. She wore a simple moonwhite gown, appearing gentle and charming. The moment she entered, she grabbed my hand, her face flushed with righteous indignation. "Sister-in-law, how could you indulge her like this? She's just an orphan girl, yet she acts as if she owns the place. Relying on my cousin's favor to run wild. She even dares to scold and hit the elderly servants in the mansion. What will become of us in the future?" Her words were identical to those she had used to sow discord between us in my previous life. I lifted my teacup, gently blew away the floating leaves, and spoke slowly. "Xiangyao, you are unmarried and do not understand the difficulties of managing the inner quarters. Manra's father is a benefactor to the Marquis household. Since my husband has affection for her, if I were to criticize her at every turn, it would only make me appear jealous. Besides, my husband has promised me he will take no other concubine this lifetime. Why should I risk damaging our harmony over such a trifling matter? But she can't be so brazen." Su Xiangyao grew agitated, her voice rising. "Sister-in-law, you are the legitimate daughter of the Duke's household. How exalted your status. How can you allow a mere concubine to outshine you? Status and rank exist only in people's minds. There's no need to dwell on such empty formalities." I lifted my eyes to meet hers, a hint of resignation in my gaze. "As long as my husband is content and the household remains peaceful, I am satisfied." Su Xiangyao stared at me, her lips parting as if to speak, then clamping shut. The venom in her eyes was nearly impossible to hide. Her fingers clenched the handkerchief so tightly her knuckles turned white. I knew she must be seething inside. Shed hoped Lin Manru and I would tear each other apart, leaving her to reap the benefits. But I wasn't going to give her that satisfaction. I deliberately held her back, detailing the concubine-taking ceremony's proceedings. I insisted on giving Lin Manru a grand entrance, watching Su Xianjiao's face turn pale and then flushed. Finally, she made an excuse and hurried away. After she left, Jin Xin couldn't help but complain. "Madam, why must you be so gentle with Miss Lin? Don't you know what schemes she's plotting? Even if I do, what difference does it make?" I stroked my belly, where a tiny life was already growing a child I had failed to protect in my past life. "Let them fight it out. My only concern is to keep my child safe and sound." Jin Xin nodded, seeming to understand yet not fully grasping the meaning, before turning to fetch me a bowl of sour plum soup. Ever since confirming my pregnancy, I developed an intense craving for sour foods. Upon learning this, my mother-in-law had someone prepare it for me daily, her affection evident in every gesture. On the day of the concubine-taking ceremony, Hanglin Courtyard was adorned with lanterns and decorations. Bustling with excitement, I had specifically ordered the wine in Hanglin Courtyard replaced with peach blossom drunkenness. This wine was smooth on the palate yet potent, most likely to stir emotions. My intent was clear. Keep Zhao Shishai in Hanglin Courtyard tonight and ensure Lin Manru conceived. Only then would Su Xiangyao truly feel unsettled, and the war between them would be fully ignited. Before departing, I called Lin Manru aside and handed her a brocaded box. "This is the Kunling pill bestowed upon me by the palace during my wedding. It aids women in conceiving. Today is your auspicious day, so I bestow one upon you. May you soon bear children." For the Marquis household, Kunling pills were rare treasures, each worth a fortune. Lin Manru's eyes widened as she eagerly took the box, repeatedly saying, "Thank you, madam." Her tone finally held a hint of genuine gratitude, though the smug look remained impossible to hide. "Serve your husband well," I instructed coolly before turning to return to my own courtyard. Early the next morning, Lin Manru came to present me with tea. Her cheeks still bore a lingering flush, and though weariness lingered beneath her eyes, her spirit was radiant, a clear sign of her night's revelry. I lifted the teacup, took a symbolic sip, then dismissed her to accompany me to Qian Courtyard to pay respects to my mother-in-law. In the Qian Courtyard, Su Xiangyao stood massaging her mother-in-law's shoulders. As we entered, A flash of jealousy flickered in her eyes before she resumed a gentle demeanor. Mother-in-law offered us seats. I had barely sat down when Lin Manru followed suit, completely forgetting her status as a concubine. Concubine Lin. Who gave you permission to sit? Su Xiangyao suddenly spoke, her tone tinged with rebuke. You are merely a secondary wife. By custom, you should stand by the main wife's side to serve. How dare you sit alongside her? Her words appeared to be defending me, but they were actually a deliberate attempt to humiliate Lin Manru. Lin Manru's face darkened, about to retort, when I spoke first. Mother, concubine Lin worked hard last night, and I have no shortage of attendance. Let her sit. When my husband returns from court later and learns of this, he'll surely feel sorry for her. My mother-in-law sighed and shook her head. Ah, Wu. You're simply too kind-hearted. Though she spoke thus, she did not object. Su Xianjiao's expression darkened instantly, and she shot Lin Manru a fierce glare. Lin Manru wasn't one to be pushed around either. She immediately straightened her back, lifted her chin, and glared right back, her eyes brimming with defiance. From that day onward, Su Xiangyao and Lin Manru were utterly at odds. Su Xiangyao, claiming to stand up for me, constantly picked on Lin Manru one moment, accusing her of poor etiquette, the next of mistreating the servants. Lin Manru, not one to back down, relied on Zhao Shixi's favor to clash with Su Xiangyao at every turn. The two often argued until their faces turned crimson, turning the Marquis mansion upside down. I, however, found myself the most at ease. On one hand, I advised Su Xiangyao, Lady Lin is the apple of my husband's eye. You shouldn't constantly provoke her, lest you put him in a difficult position. Meanwhile, I had my maid send Lin Manru silk robes and novel trinkets, whispering to her, the mistress knows you've been wronged. The young lady is still inexperienced. Don't stoop to her level. This only intensified the conflict between the two, leading to daily confrontations. Zhao Shizhai was driven to distraction by their squabbles. With the Ministry of Revenue's year-end workload mounting, he seized the opportunity to claim excessive duties, frequently staying at the office and refusing to return home. Whether he returned or not, I cared little. Seizing this opportunity, one summoned each steward of the Ho residence, employing both kindness and authority to organize the household affairs into perfect order. I left the crucial positions untouched for now, quietly placing trusted confidants in key roles. Biding my time. In mid-December, while discussing New Year gifts for other households with my mother-in-law, I polished off a plate of pickled plums on the table. Seeing this, her eyes lit up, and she immediately sent for a physician. The pulse diagnosis confirmed what I had anticipated. I was 3 months pregnant. Overjoyed, my mother-in-law chattered incoherently, clutching my hand and repeating, Good Ah Wu. This is wonderful. Quickly, send someone to fetch the Marquis back. Let him share in this joy. I smiled and called out to the servants, Mother, there's no need to rush to fetch my husband just yet. Why not have the doctor take Lady Lin's pulse as well? That way, my husband can share in the joy too. My mother-in-law paused, then nodded. Very well. When the physician's fingers touched Lady Lin Manru's wrist, her face brimmed with anticipation. Moments later, the physician smiled and offered congratulations. Congratulations, Madam Dowager. Congratulations. Madam, Lady Lin is also with child. Already over a month along. Lin Manru, overcome with joy, gently stroked her belly and said, The Marquis will surely be overjoyed when he hears this news. I watched her, smiling along with her, but out of the corner of my eye, I saw Su Xianjiao's face turn as white as paper. Her eyes filled with a mad, seething hatred. Very well, the play has only just begun. The moment Su Xiangyao accepted the token from the steward, the wild elation in her eyes was nearly impossible to conceal. She likely believed this was the first step in her plan to bring me down and take my place, unaware that it was merely a double-edged sword I had placed in her hands. Her first act upon gaining power was to exploit the year-end chaos within the estate to plant her own people throughout the courtyards. My bamboo tea courtyard was no exception. Receiving a maid named Chiyue tasked with sweeping the courtyard, Jinxin quietly informed me this girl was a distant relative of Su Xianjiu's wet nurse diligent, yet constantly peering into the inner chambers. There's no need to drive her away, I said, my gaze clear as I stroked my slightly rounded belly. Let her watch. Issue an order. All food and medicinal soups in my courtyard must be handled personally by you. No one else is to touch them, especially Chiou. She must never set foot inside the inner chambers, Jinxin, though puzzled, complied without question. Having served me for years, she was well accustomed to navigating the calculated moves hidden beneath my gentle exterior. Before long, New Year's Eve arrived. Zhao Shizhai entered the palace early for the banquet, claiming severe morning sickness. I was spared from accompanying him under my mother-in-law's tender care. The mansion was adorned with festive lanterns and filled with cheerful laughter everywhere. Yet I had Jinxin support me to the Qian courtyard, where I remained by my mother-in-law's side without moving an inch. Miss, your sickness act is truly convincing, Jinxin whispered, glancing at the untouched plum soup before me and teasing me. I pursed my lips. It's not to fool them, but to guard against them. Just watch tonight promises to be quite the spectacle. And no sooner had the words left my mouth than a young maid hurried over, curtsying to Jinxin. Sister Jinxin, the maids in bamboo tea courtyard have quarreled and broken the mistress' porcelain vase. You must return at once to settle this. Jinxin glanced at me, then declared in a clear voice as ID instructed. It's no big deal. On New Year's Eve, just keep them quiet. We can deal with it tomorrow. My mistress is suffering from severe morning sickness. How could I leave her side? Hearing this, the matriarch nodded approvingly. Jinxin, you truly understand what matters most. With you by Awa's side, I have no worries. I smiled and added, Jinxin, did you hear that? Your duty tonight is to stay by my side. Don't meddle in anything else. The young maid paled, frozen in place, until my mother-in-law shot her a suspicious glance. Only then did she hurry away. I sneered inwardly. Su Xiangyao couldn't contain herself. After all, she wanted to distract Jinxin so Chiou could strike while she was gone. As midnight approached, the matriarch sent Su Xiangyao to direct the servants in setting off firecrackers. The deafening explosions drowned out any potential disturbances within the mansion. Just then, Lin Manris' personal maid burst into Qian courtyard, sobbing, Grandmother, mistress, my mistress is bleeding. The matriarch sprang to her feet, panic etched on her face. What happened? Half an hour ago, the concubine complained of stomach discomfort and ran to the outhouse several times. We thought it was indigestion, but just now she started bleeding. The maid wailed heart-wrenchingly. I feigned exhaustion with a yawn and rose to go see, but the matriarch grabbed my arm. You're carrying a child, how can you tire yourself? Concubine Lin is merely a secondary wife. Her affairs are the servant's concern. Return to Bamboo Fragrance Courtyard at once and rest. You must not risk harming the fetus. She then instructed Nanny Li and Jinxin. You two personally escort the mistress back. See to her properly. No one is to disturb her. Yes, mother. I replied obediently. Escorted by the two women, I returned to my quarters, yawning incessantly all the way, yet feeling a surge of satisfaction within. The pain of losing my child in my past life had finally been repaid to Lin Manri tenfold today. Early the next morning, Jinxin rushed in breathlessly, her voice both furious and hurried. Madam, concubine Lin had a miscarriage. She insists it was caused by the hibiscus pastries we sent from our courtyard. My hand holding the teacup froze. I feigned surprise. Is that so? I specifically had Nanny Li set aside a portion of yesterday's banquet food to send to Hanglin Courtyard. How could it have caused trouble? Exactly. Jinxin gritted her teeth. When the Marquis returned, he flew into a rage and demanded to confront you. Only after I brought the old lady as a witness proving we hadn't left Qian Courtyard last night did he relent. Instead, he took Chiou, the maid who delivered the lotus seed pastries. Away for interrogation, I set down my teacup, a cold gleam flashing in my eyes. What of Chiu Yu? They say she died by impaling herself on a pillar to prove her innocence. Jinxin hesitated. But something feels off. Chiu Yu seemed timid and afraid of pain. How could she have the courage to take her own life? Naturally. Someone forced her to have no choice but to die. I said calmly. Zhao Shixi's urgency in disposing of Chiu Yu stemmed solely from his fear she might implicate Su Xiaonyao. His affection for Su Xiaonyao ran so deep he was willing to cover up her crime of murdering her own child. Jinxin looked half understanding, half hopeful. Then might the Marquis trace it back to the young mistress? Expel her from the Marquis' residence? No. I shook my head. My next move already mapped out in my mind. Zhao Shizhai will pin everything on Chiu Yu, claiming Lin Manru's unstable pregnancy was caused by indigestion. But Lin Manru won't let it rest. She's always been headstrong. Now, having lost her child and realizing she was merely a stepping stone, she'll surely go mad. A stepping stone? Jinxin looked puzzled. Find 2 loyal maidservants and have them gossip outside Hanglin courtyard. I whispered instructions into her ear. Say that the Marquis originally intended to take the cousin as his concubine, but feared my disapproval. So he elevated Lin Manru as a shield. Little did he know I would agree so readily. Concubine Lin merely picked up the scraps left by the cousin. No wonder the two have never gotten along. Jinxin's eyes lit up. I understand. After dismissing Jinxin, I summoned my trusted wet nurse, Xia San. He was the most reliable person in the Marquis household. His entire family indebted to the Duke's grace. Keep a close watch on that corpse in the front courtyard, I ordered in a grave tone. See which unmarked grave they dump it in. Make sure it's protected. Don't let wild dogs desecrate it. And find a way to make Lin Manru see the sword wound on the body with her own eyes. Xia San froze. Madam, are you saying Chiu Yu didn't kill herself, but was killed by Zhao Shizhai? I declared with unwavering certainty. The cleaning woman in the front courtyard saw him discard a blood-stained rag undoubtedly used to wipe the blade. When Lin Manru sees that wound and hears the gossip, she'll realize she's been nothing but a laughingstock from the start. Xia San took his leave. I leaned back on the soft couch, stroking my belly, my heart oddly calm. The grudges from my past life, I would settle them one by one. Those who had hurt me would taste the bitterness of despair. By evening, Xia San returned with his report. Lin Manru had indeed gone to the mass grave. Upon seeing the sword wound on Chiu Yu's body, her eyes swelled from crying until they resembled walnuts. Yet she did not confront Zhao Shizhai. Instead, she secretly bought a sharp dagger from the treasure shop and purchased a packet of poison from the black market. A cold smile tugged at my lips. The jackals and vicious dogs were finally turning on each other. Madam, what shall we do now? Jinxin asked. To Qian Convent, I replied, rising and smoothing my robe. It's time for mother-in-law to understand that I, her legitimate wife, am no pushover to be manipulated. And it's time for Zhao Shizhai to realize that what he owes me will be repaid. Sooner or later, upon arriving at the Qian courtyard, Zhao Shizhai was indeed there, whispering something to my mother-in-law with a hint of unmistakable panic in his expression. Seeing me enter, he fell silent, his gaze toward me tinged with caution. I curtsied, my tone calm. Mother, husband, I have come today to discuss returning to my parental home. Tomorrow is the second day of the first lunar month, when according to custom I should make my post-wedding visit. I wish to remain at the Duke's residence for a while to rest and nurture my pregnancy. My mother-in-law paused, startled. You are carrying a child. The journey would be too taxing. Why not have Shizhai deliver generous gifts instead? Precisely because I am pregnant that I must return, I replied, my expression tinged with sorrow as I met her mother-in-law's gaze. Auntie Lin lost her child. I fear mine might be targeted too. The Duke's residence is heavily guarded. No one would dare tamper with me there. Her face darkened instantly. She looked at me, then at Zhao Shizhai, before sighing heavily, her expression weary. Shizhai has been foolish. Rest assured. Going to the Duke's residence to rest is for the best. I will send men to escort you safely. Zhao Shizhai opened his mouth to speak, but my icy glare silenced him. He likely understood the implication behind my words, yet dared not argue. As I left the Qian courtyard, I glanced back. Zhao Shizhai stood with his head bowed, lost in thought. A cold smile touched my lips. This was merely the beginning. The harsher revenge was yet to come. Section 4. Life at the Duke's residence was quiet and peaceful, though my parents weren't as attentive as my mother-in-law. They had sent the finest matrons and cooks to tend to my daily needs each morning. I took leisurely walks in the courtyard to aid digestion. Afternoons were spent reclining on a soft couch reading, with Jinxin by my side. She occasionally shared news from the Marquis residence, mostly reports sent by my mother-in-law to assure me that Zhao Shizhai was well. I paid little heed to these matters, my sole focus being the child growing within me. That changed on the third evening. Li, the matron who served my mother-in-law, stumbled into the courtyard, her face as pale as paper. Spotting me, she fell to her knees with a thud. Madam, Marquis, disaster has struck the Marquis residence. The old lady demands your immediate return. Zhao Shizhai, who had been playing chess with my father, leapt to his feet at the news, scattering the pieces across the floor. His expression darkened instantly as he grabbed Nanny Li by the arm. What happened? The cousin is gone. Auntie Li's voice trembled, barely able to form a complete sentence. My heart skipped a beat, but I feigned panic, rising with Jinxin's support. What happened to Sister Xiangyao? Why would something happen to her out of the blue? It was concubine Lin. Nanny Li sobbed. She went mad, claiming the young lady harmed her child. And then, she struck her down. Zhao Shixi's face turned ashen. Without a word, he pulled me up and dragged me outside. The carriage raced forward. He remained silent the entire journey, his fists clenched so tightly his knuckles turned white. Leaning against the carriage wall, I closed my eyes and feigned sleep, though a cold smile couldn't help but curve my lips. The jackal and the vicious dog had finally fought themselves into mutual ruin. Upon returning to the Marquis residence, the moment I stepped from the carriage, a thick, sickening stench of blood wafted toward me on the wind. My mother-in-law stood at the gate, her temples seemingly grayer than before. Spotting me, she hurried forward and seized my hand. "Oh, you're finally back. Quickly, go rest in the bamboo fragrance courtyard. You needn't concern yourself with matters here." Mother, what happened? I feigned concern. How could Sister Xiangyao? Don't speak of it. It's all ill-fated karma. Mother sighed, her eyes darting away. That madwoman Lin Manru went completely off her rocker after her miscarriage. She actually laid hands on Xiangyao. You're carrying a child, you mustn't be frightened like this. Quickly, let Jinxin escort you back. I refused to leave, insisting on seeing for myself. My mother-in-law couldn't persuade me otherwise, so she had Nanny Li accompany me to stand at a distance outside Hanglin courtyard. Servants crowded the courtyard, their expressions filled with dread as whispers and murmurs swirled around us. Zhao Shizhai was the first to rush inside. Soon after, his piercing wail echoed out, followed by the sound of repeated retching. Curiosity made me tiptoe, and I could vaguely make out the scene within. Su Xiangyao lay on the ground, her clothes soaked through with blood. Beside her, Lin Manru stood with disheveled hair, clutching a blood-stained dagger. Her eyes were wild, and she muttered incoherently, My child has returned, your lordship. Look, I've avenged our child. You mad woman." Zhao Shixi's voice carried boundless hatred and terror. "I'll kill you, your lordship. I'm the one you love most now, aren't I?" Lin Manru paid no heed to his fury, instead stepping toward him with an eerie smile. "Su Xiangyao is dead. From now on, only I will be by your side. Let's have another child, shall we?" My mother-in-law, fearing I might be frightened, quickly covered my eyes. "Don't look, Awu. Let's go back. I obediently turned away. Yet my heart swelled with satisfaction. The agony of losing my child in my past life. Su Xianjiu's smug face. Lin Manris' arrogant demeanor all now transformed into the bloody scene before me, exacting retribution upon them one by one. Back at Bamboo Fragrance Courtyard. Jinxin whispered to me that Shed overheard amid the chaos. Lin Manru had not only poisoned Su Xiaonyao into unconsciousness but also slashed her repeatedly with a dagger, leaving her in a gruesome state. When Zhao Shizhai stormed into the courtyard, Lin Manru was sitting beside Su Xianjiu's corpse, grinning foolishly and muttering revenge, over and over. "And what of Lady Lin now?" I asked, feigning curiosity. "Locked away by the Marquis," Jinxin whispered. "They say he was shaking with rage, yet dared not kill her, fearing it would tarnish the Marquis' household reputation. But..." She paused. "I overheard servants say the Marquis looked at Lady Lin as if he wanted to devour her." I chuckled softly. Zhao Shizhai wasn't afraid to kill her, feared Lin Manru might blurt out the truth in her madness. If word spread that Xiao Xiaonyao, an unmarried beauty, had entangled herself with him and even plotted against the Marquis' heir, not only would he face impeachment by the censors, but the reputation of the Marquis of Annan's household would be utterly ruined. Sure enough, early the next morning, Jinxin reported that the prefect of the capital had sent men to the Marquis' residence to examine the body. Zhao Shizhai publicly declared that Lin Manru had lost her mind after her miscarriage. Suspecting Su Xiaonyao of harming her child, she had poisoned Su Xiaonyao while he accompanied me to my maternal home and his mother went to Huaguosi Temple to pray. Overcome with remorse afterward, she had taken her own life to atone. Suicide. I raised an eyebrow. A woman like Lin Manru would never take her own life so easily. Your insight is sharp, madam. Jinxin nodded. I heard from a servant in the front courtyard that late last night, the Marquis quietly went to the woodshed where concubine Lin was held. He emerged shortly after. And soon after that, someone discovered concubine Lin had passed away. It must have been the Marquis who killed her. Fearing she might speak out of turn, it all clicked into place. Zhao Shizhai, desperate to cover up the scandal, had ultimately taken Lin Manris' life. His entire existence was built on scheming for his own selfish desires, never truly caring for anyone. He treated Su Xiaonyao that way, Lin Manru that way, and me the same. Madam, the Marquis is kneeling in the courtyard of the Xianan Hall now. Jinxin added. The old lady is furious. She says he failed to recognize true character, ruining Xiaonyao and Lady Lin. She ordered him to kneel in the snow and reflect on his actions. I rose, changed into fresh clothes, draped a cloak over my shoulders, and told Jinxin, "Let's go see." Snow had begun falling again in the courtyard of the Qian Hall. Zhao Shizhai knelt in the snow, clad only in thin everyday robes. Snow had gathered on his shoulders and head, his palms turning blue-black from the cold, yet his spine remained rigidly straight. To an uninformed observer, he would surely appear noble and loyal, tormented by guilt for the loss of his cousin and his concubine. But I only felt disgust. I had Jinxin fetch a hand warmer, then slowly approached him. Kneeling down, I placed it in his lap. "Husband, in this bitter cold, kneeling any longer will break your body. I'll plead with mother for you. She has a soft heart and will surely spare you." Zhao Shizhai lifted his head, bloodshot eyes clinging to me like a lifeline. His voice cracked with tears. "Oh, you don't blame me. You are my husband. How could I blame you?" A habitual smile touched my lips, yet my gaze remained cold and unruffled. "Those were their fates, not yours. You were merely momentarily blinded. From now on, just live well. Awu." He seized my hand abruptly, his voice choked with emotion. "You're the kindest to me. I was blind and foolish before, unable to see their venomous hearts. From this day forward, you alone will dwell in my heart. No one else will ever take your place." His fingertips were ice cold, sending a shiver through me, suppressing the urge to pull my hand away. I spoke softly. "It's too cold outside. You should get up." I'll go persuade mother, turning into the inner chamber. I found my mother-in-law sitting by the window, wiping away tears. Seeing me enter, she hastily dried her eyes. Oh, don't try to persuade him. That ungrateful son deserves a lesson. If not for him, Xiang Yao wouldn't have. Mother, I interrupted. My husband already knows he was wrong. In this bitter cold, if he stays kneeling and catches a serious chill, what would become of the Ho household? In carrying his child, we can't let the baby be born fatherless. My mother-in-law sighed, her gaze softening. You're just too kind-hearted. Very well. Let him rise. But if he ever acts recklessly again, I won't forgive him. Stepping out of the inner chamber, I told Zhao Shizhai, Mother says you may rise. Hurry back to your room and change your clothes. Don't let yourself freeze. Overjoyed, he scrambled to his feet, stumbling as he grabbed my hand. Aw woo. You're so kind to me. I'll go change now and join you for supper tonight. Watching his retreating figure, the smile on my lips vanished instantly. Jinxin approached me and whispered, Madam, it seems the young master has truly repented this time. You'll finally have a good life ahead. A good life. I scoffed coldly. Jinxin, have you forgotten the 30 years of suffering I endured in that estate? Zhao Shixi's repentance is nothing but a calculated choice after weighing the pros and cons. Now that he's lost Su Xiangyao and Lin Manru, he has no choice but to rely on me and the Duke's household. I paused, a cold gleam flashing in my eyes. But I won't give him another chance to hurt me. Back at Bamboo Fragrance Courtyard, I had Jinxin summon Xie. He soon brought what I sought, a small packet of black powder, the very poison Lin Manru had purchased from the black market. Madam, what is this? Xie looked puzzled. This is what concubine Lin left behind. I took the poison, bringing it close to my nose to inhale its pungent scent. Keep it. It will serve its purpose sooner or later. Jinxin watched me, her eyes filled with bewilderment. Madam, what do you intend to do with this? For revenge. Naturally. My hand rested on my belly as my voice remained calm yet unwavering. Lin Manru and Su Xiangyao have paid the price. Now it's Zhao Shixi's turn to end my past life. He left me alone and miserable for 30 years, robbing me of my child, my ability to bear children, and every shred of dignity. This time, I will not only make him pay with his life for his deeds, but I will ensure that everything he built with his own hands becomes mine and my child's. Jinxin paled and hurriedly protested. Madam, you absolutely must not. The Marquis is an official of the Imperial Court. If anything happens to him, the authorities will surely investigate. Then you and the young master, rest assured. I cut her off. I won't put myself in danger. Zhao Shizhai killed Xiao Yu and then murdered Lin Manru. His hands are already drenched in blood. All I need to do is use him as a tool to kill. Ensuring his death remains a mystery, and no one will ever suspect me. I carefully stowed the poison away, hiding it in a secret compartment of the dressing box. Outside the window, the snow fell heavier and heavier, blanketing the entire Marquis residence as if intent on burying all the sins within. But I knew some debts could never be buried. What Zhao Shizhai owed me, I would collect bit by bit, with interest. And this grand drama of vengeance had only just reached its climax. Zhao Shizhai followed me into the Qian courtyard. Seeing him covered in snow, my mother-in-law couldn't help but feel pity. She refrained from further scolding and merely told him to hurry back to his room to change. Standing nearby, I watched him smile at me with feigned gratitude, his eyes holding only insincere warmth. I felt nothing but irony. Husband, you should go now. The Ukamiya wine in the kitchen should be warmed by now, I urged softly, my voice laced with just the right amount of concern. That wine is made with the finest Ukamiya bark and donkey hide gelatin. It's most effective at driving out the cold. You've been frozen for so long. You must warm yourself properly. A flicker of emotion crossed Zhao Shixi's eyes as he took my hand and patted it gently. Oh, you truly cherish me most. Once I've changed, they'll come talk with you and mother. His back was straight and tall as he turned to leave, little knowing that this departure would be his final journey to the underworld. I remained in the Kian courtyard to converse with my mother-in-law, my fingertips unconsciously rubbing the sleeve where I concealed a small packet of poison left by Lin Manru delivered yesterday by Sia-san. The black powder had a pungent odor. A mere pinch could be fatal. Earlier in the kitchen, I had seized the moment when the cook turned away to pour the entire packet into the jar of donkey hide gelatin wine. The bitter taste of the eucalyptus bark decoction would mask the poison scent, and the donkey hide gelatin wine itself was warm and mellow. Zhao Shizhai would never suspect anything amiss. So arrogant, and convinced I still harbored feelings for him, he would gladly drink this cup of death. Half an hour later, a servant rushed in with news that the Marquis had vomited blood. The matriarch sprang from her soft couch, her face ashen. What happened? I pinched my thigh hard, my eyes instantly reddening. Supported by Jinshin, I ran crying toward the exit. Husband. When I reached Zhao Shixi's courtyard, he lay collapsed by the window, blood pooling at the corners of his mouth, his breaths shallow and labored. Servants huddled around, panic-stricken, none daring to approach. My mother-in-law threw herself upon him, clutching his lifeless body as she wailed, her grief tearing at her heart. My son. Who has done this to you? My legs gave way, and I collapsed into Jingxin's arms. The wails of my mother-in-law and the servants' cries filled my ears. Yet my heart felt an unprecedented lightness. Zhao Shizhai. The 30 years of loneliness you owed me, the child you owed me, the dignity you owed Metade. It's all finally settled. When I awoke again, I lay on a soft couch in the bamboo tea courtyard, Jinshin watching over me with reddened eyes. My mother-in-law sat beside the bed, her expression complex, filled with grief yet tinged with a barely perceptible weariness. "Ah, Wu. It's good you're awake," my mother-in-law said, taking my hand with cautious care. "You're carrying a child. You mustn't grieve too deeply." I smiled weakly, tears slipping from my eyes. "Mother. My husband. How could this happen?" "They're still investigating." Mother sighed. "That jar of eucalyptus wine was poisoned. The coroner said the toxin matches the one Lin Manru used to poison Xiaonyao a few days ago." I feigned surprise. "How could this be? That wine was given to us by Sister Xiaonyao earlier. I'd been saving it, thinking of how my husband suffers from the cold, and only brought it out to warm him." Jinshin hurriedly chimed in. "Yes, madam. That wine had been sitting untouched on the treasure shelf. Who would have thought it was poisoned? That cousin must have harbored ill intent from the start, aiming to harm our mistress. Little did she know she'd accidentally poisoned the Marquis instead." Just then, the eunuch entered with the military commander and the coroner. The commander's expression was grave as he bowed to me. "Madam, our investigation confirms the poison was indeed in that jar of donkey hide gelatin wine. This jar was presented to you by Su Xiaonyao. Our investigation reveals that Su Xiaonyao and Lin Manru harbored long-standing grudges against each other. Both women were consumed by jealousy toward you. Madam, it appears one of them poisoned the wine, intending to harm you but accidentally killing the Marquis instead." The mother-in-law snapped her head up. "Impossible. Both Xiaonyao and Manru loved Shizhai. Why would they harm him?" "Madam," the captain sneered coldly, "had the young Marquis not favored his concubine over his wife, allowing the two to vie for his attention, would they have dared target the legitimate wife? The young Marquis merely took the blow for you." The eunuch rebuked him. "Jiangsu, cease this nonsense. Awu bore Shizhai's only child. This marriage was already an injustice to her. You should be grateful Awu survived, lest the Anan Marquis line truly be cut off." The mother-in-law's face drained of color as she slumped back into her chair. Speechless, I lowered my eyes, hiding the cold glint in my gaze. Everything unfolded as I had anticipated. Su Xiaonyao was dead, and Lin Manru had also met her end, with no witnesses left. This poisoning case would inevitably be concluded as two women fighting over a man, accidentally harming the Marquis. As the victim's widow, carrying the Marquis' sole hope, I would receive nothing but sympathy and protection from everyone. Zhao Shixi's funeral was grand yet chaotic. Throughout the capital, whispers spread of the Anan Marquis concubine who destroyed his wife, ultimately leading to the ruin of his household. All called it retribution, and I became the object of everyone's sympathy, the legitimate daughter of the Duke's household, virtuous and kind-hearted, yet unfortunate in her choice of husband, widowed at such a young age. I was fortunate to bear a posthumous son. On the 16th day of the first lunar month, Zhao Shizhai was laid to rest. An imperial eunuch arrived bearing the emperor's decree, praising my virtue and steadfast loyalty. Countless treasures were bestowed upon me, culminating in the title of Lady of Anan. This meant my rank now surpassed that of my late mother-in-law. Within the capital, I was now the most honored woman, surpassed only by the empresses, princesses, and consorts of princes. When mother came to see me, she held my hand and wept. "Ah, Wu. You've suffered so much injustice. Your brother has already entered the palace and reported everything to His Majesty. From now on, with the support of the Duke's mansion and this imperial decree, no one will dare to mistreat you again." I nodded with a smile, my heart clear as crystal. I was no longer Xia Wu, dependent on a man, nor the Marquis' wife, manipulated at will. From this day forward, I was Lady Anan, the true mistress of the Anan Marquis residence. After Zhao Shixi's burial, my mother-in-law formally handed over the household management to me. Her temples were now streaked with more silver, her eyes weary, stripped of their former authority. "Ah, Wu, the Marquis' household is yours now. Rest assured. I will take good care of the child for you." I accepted the heavy pair of tokens without a flicker of emotion. In my previous life, I had yearned for these tokens in vain. In this life, they came to me with ease. I knew they weren't trusting me, but had no other choice. The child in my womb was the sole heir to the Anan Marquisate. In the days that followed, I began a sweeping reorganization of the Marquisate. I systematically purged the remnants of Su Xiaonyao and Lin Manris' influence, replacing key stewards with my own loyal confidants. Xia San became the chief steward of the mansion, and Jin Xin became my most capable right-hand woman. Every servant in the mansion knew that the current Lady Anan was not to be trifled with. Each kept their place, daring not to show the slightest negligence. I focused on nurturing my pregnancy, managing the estate's holdings in my spare time. Under my stewardship, the jewelry shops and estates flourished, yielding increasingly substantial profits. My mother-in-law obeyed my every word, and my father-in-law frequently inquired after my health. Within the entire estate, no one dared to look down on me anymore. After 10 months of pregnancy, the moment of delivery arrived. I gave birth to a healthy son, whom we named Xia Qinggan. His name carried on both the Anan Marquisate's lineage and my Xia family's bloodline. My in-laws were overjoyed, cherishing the child like a precious treasure. The entire Marquisate revolved around this little master. Time slipped by, and 20 years vanished in the blink of an eye. Qinggan grew into a man of both scholarly and martial prowess. With the recommendation of my father-in-law and my own father, he smoothly inherited the title of Marquis of Anan. He was dutiful and considerate. Aware of my past hardships, he always accommodated me in everything, never causing me the slightest grievance. Each year on Zhao Shixi's Memorial Day, I would have Qinggan write down his birth date and burn it along with incense, candles, and paper offerings. I could no longer recall whether his birthday was the 8th or 9th day of the 5th lunar month, so I always wrote the 7th. When Qinggan asked why, I would simply smile and say, "I've forgotten. Let's just leave it at that." My days passed in quiet ease. I entrusted all the affairs of the home mansion to Qinggan, offering guidance only occasionally. In my leisure, I tended flowers and plants in the courtyard or taught my grandchildren to read and write. Life was peaceful and stable. 50 years later, my hair had turned entirely white, yet I remained as vigorous as ever. One night, I dreamt of Zhao Shizhai. He stood beneath a peach tree, clad in the same blue robe had worn back then. His eyes filled with hurt. "Oh," he said, "all these years, I've received nothing from the underworld. Could it be your servants are paying lip service to you? I smiled and replied, very well. I'll ask them for you. He said, touched. I knew it. You're still the best to me. When I awoke, I couldn't help but laugh. This man remained so self-assured even in death, still believing someone remained utterly loyal to him in the afterlife. The next day was Zhao Shixi's memorial. My grandson brought me a paper with his grandfather's birth chart and asked, Grandma, Father asked me to write down grandfather's birth chart. Could you check if it's correct? The paper read, the 7th day of the 5th month. I nodded, my smile serene. It's correct. Sunlight streamed through the window lattice, warm and bright. Peonies bloomed profusely in the courtyard, their fragrance overwhelming. I knew this time I had won. Not only had I avenged my blood feud, but I had lived with dignity and grace. Now I watched my son and grandson inherit the family legacy, enjoying the joys of family life. For a woman, the most reliable thing has never been a man's affection, but her own capability and inner strength. Reborn into this life, I finally understood. Rather than pinning hopes on others, it's better to rely on oneself and live the life you desire. The story concludes. Thank you for subscribing to this channel.